Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you, and then I'm going to go ahead and let you get started, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Marilyn Kirkpatrick with us tonight, and Marilyn is a Clark County Commissioner, actually chair of the Clark County Commission, and she's also on our University of Nevada Cooperative Extension Advisory Council, and a former legislator. So I've asked her tonight to talk to you about the legislative process of, and how that might, how you might be, or, some of the things that you might be asked, how it might be if you're asked to testify at a committee hearing, et cetera. So turn it over to you, Marilyn.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. And thank you for doing this. I think this is really important, especially for you students that are on the call tonight. Really important. Many of you, and I'm going to struggle a little bit because I'm used to seeing faces, so I'm talking to myself. So what I wanted to say is it's really important that you testify. So each one of you have a parent who's probably a registered voter, and you probably have a representative. And the first thing I would ask you is to go home tonight and ask your parent who that representative is, because whether or not you testify, there's some really great stuff that you could do in between. And I know that the 4-H kids are super awesome at doing that. So I'll just tell you that I represent the Logandale Fairgrounds. And so I'm already getting letters from many of the kids that participate in 4-H throughout the fair that are, telling me about their, how 4-H has made a difference for them. And so first and foremost, I'd ask you to go home and talk to your parents and ask them who your representative is. And what I would tell you is whether or not you get called to testify, here's some things that would be really important for you to do. So many legislators don't know what 4-H is about. Everybody assumes it's just about animals, when really 4-H is about so many other things. I know at least my experience with 4-H is I used the 4-H mechanics class to help build the hydroponic gardens for the autistic children in my district. I know that I host the Logandale Fair, which we have many kids that put animals in the fair, but it's all about the robotics program. And so for legislators, it's important that you guys kind of tell them everything that we do, because they may not know, and it is pretty important to them. So when you go home tonight, ask your parents who their legislator is. And if you don't know, you can go on the legislative website and it'll tell you. You can type in your address and it can tell you. And what I would encourage you to do is to write a letter yourself to your legislator to say that you know that 4-H is something that is funded by the state, and you would like to just give your input on what 4-H does. And I can tell you that every single time that I used to get a letter from a constituent or a student in my district, I did two things. I typically called them back, and then I talked to them about the importance of, the issue that they cared about. So as you send an email or you write a letter, be sure to put your name, your address, and your phone number and the best time to reach you. So if the best time to reach you is at 8 o'clock at night, and you want to let them know so that they can try and call. So after you write the letter tonight about the importance of 4-H and what it does and your experience with 4-H, I hear a lot from kids. I'm a big Scout person, so I was involved with Scouts for over 20 years. Some of the things that people forget about those kind of clubs is the friendships that you make forever, for a lifetime, the experience that you have being out there, and the responsibility that you take on by participating in the meetings and by showcasing whatever part of 4-H that you like. So anybody have any questions on that so far? No?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, so if you are requested to testify, and our goal is that in May, we are asking the legislature to give us an additional $4.7 million for 4-H programs, because we think that we can do lots of things with that money over the next 2 years to promote some of the things we do and add some additional programming. So if you are asked to testify, it would be important that we get you to Carson City, and I think we have talked about how to make that work. And so when you get to Carson City, you'd want to dress pretty nice, like you're going to church on Sunday. For the gentleman, a tie with a white shirt with or without a jacket. The ladies, an appropriate dress or a nice set of pants. But the one thing that I really wouldn't want you to do is to wear jeans, because it's a really important institution and they make really important decisions. And way back in the 1800s, they decided that there was a dress code. So I would encourage you to dress appropriately first. You would get to the committee hearing, which is Ways and Means. And Ways and Means is where they do all of the money for all the programs for the next 2 years. More than likely, there would be a hearing, and they would ask you to come to the table. Once you get to the table, and I can write all of this out for you. Once you get to the table, you wait until the committee chairperson, which is Maggie Carlton, and she's great, ask you to go ahead and speak. At that point, you would state your name for the record and your address, and then they would ask you to go ahead and give any comments. So they try to limit you to 3 minutes. So you have 3 minutes to kind of talk about the importance of 4-H and what 4-H does for you. And it would be important at that time to know who your assembly person is, so that if they're on the committee, you can let them know that you're coming. It would be important that if they're on the committee, you could say, for instance, I live in Assembly District Carlton's district. My name is Marilyn Kirkpatrick. My address is 4747 Showdown, North Las Vegas. And I am in 4-H, and I really like 4-H for the reasons listed. So you can specifically talk about them. They may ask you some questions on how long you've been in 4-H. They may ask you, how long do you plan on being in 4-H, and depending on your age. And they may ask you, what is the most important thing that 4-H does for you? So do I have any questions? No? Okay, so you guys are awful quiet tonight. So after you testify, because you're going all the way to Carson City, it would be great that you stayed a little while and you went throughout the halls and you met your legislator, and then take a walk over to the governor's office and tell the governor the importance of 4-H for what you do as well. And really, you guys have a lot to be proud of, and you should, I always tell people to tell their story, right? What's important to you. There's a few things that I look at. So in school, you learn who, what, where, when, why, and how. So who is in 4-H with you? What is it that you love about 4-H? How would you like to see the money spent? Why do you want it to go to 4-H? When can you expect it? So it's always good to ask them a few questions. if the money was funded, when can we expect it? Who, what, where, when, why, and how. And then how long before it would be, how long before you would be able to see some programming interest in it? So does anybody have any questions?
And just so you know too, Marilyn, we've been, the last session we talked about kind of that 5-minute elevator speech. So that's kind of, so I've been having them work on that.
Nope, and that's good. And here's what I will tell you. So I've been doing this for a very long time, and I always write my elevator speech and I practice it.
Yep.
I practice it in front of the mirror because what you'll see when you get to the legislator, a lot of legislators have computers in front of them, and they will sometimes be looking at their computer because they can look at the whole budget at once. And it's important that you make contact with them through your eyes so that they can see. And, when you're in the hallways, people ask, what are you here for? And you should always be prepared to give that elevator speech in just a couple of minutes, even in the hallways, because not so many kids go up there all the time. So a lot of people are always interested in why kids are here. What did you come from? Where do you live? And you want to be able to tell them why you're there, and you're there for 4-H.
Did anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Sorry. Just from your experience, how much statistics have you seen that these people at the hearings like to hear? Is it more based on your personal experience, or have you heard them want hard statistics as to the contribution of 4-Hers?
Well, I think you can do both, and I think it's important to do both because they need to know how big 4-H really is, and they need to know, one thing that I always like to hear, and we hear it a lot from the Future Farmers of America, is that 90% of the kids end up going on to be college and end up going into the science world. So if you have stats like that's always great. But at the end of the day, they can get stats by themselves, but it's the personal story that I always like to incorporate, because they can say that real people are really doing it. But you can absolutely coordinate both within your, so give me an example of what you would say.
I think her camera froze.
So possibly in terms of statistics, in terms of statistics I maybe could include the how many members we have worldwide, or maybe the statistic that Carrie gave us about how their 4-Hers are 3 times more likely to contribute to the community. Are those things that they would like to hear?
Yep, and we always love to hear things about Nevada specific, because our goal is to hopefully keep you here in Nevada, right? Or at least have you come back to the state and give back to the community the same way that somebody did prior to you. So, you could say worldwide, we know there's, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, you can say worldwide, we know there's 900,000 people that belong to 4-H. In Nevada, that makes up 16% of worldwide. We also know, and you can say it just like that, we also know that 30% of those go on to give back to their community every single time, and then give some specifics of like what, right? I always say like what. Like, how do they give back? Like, is it going in building gardens? Is it going in building hydroponics? Is it going and doing robotics? So you can always do that. And the more that you keep it to Nevada, the more of an impact that you're going to have. And especially for the folks from Southern Nevada, a lot of them don't have any idea what 4-H does. Assume that it's mostly for the rural areas in the state. So the more that you can tell them that, hey, in Pahrump, they have an amazing robotics team that took first place a couple of years ago, or maybe last year. And so that kind of information is super helpful. What other kind? So the one thing I would say is always write down your speech and bring it with you, whether or not you have to read it word for word, but just so that you remember it. If I have to give a speech or testify on something, I do it 3 times before I have to testify, just so I remind myself of all the important pieces that I want to make sure I get across. And then when it's sitting in front of me, I look over it to see if I got every single point. So what works best for me, and everybody's a little bit different, is I don't write it out like a letter. I write it out in bullet points, right? So my first bullet point would be the stats on Nevada kids within 4-H. My second point might be how many within my school. So I just write it out like that. And sometimes I ask myself a question in my bullet point so that then I know my answer. Is there any other questions?
Could you give us an example of what you meant about the question and an answer, how you would use that in testifying? I think I just don't understand that.
So I'll give you an example. So today I was in a very long zoning meeting, and I had an item that I was pretty passionate about that was on there. So I wrote out on a recipe card everything that I wanted to ask. So I wrote that I wanted to ask, and it was Horses for Heroes, if anybody's familiar with that program. So I wanted to make sure that I asked the question, you know, how many horses are you going to have? And then I wrote the answer of what I thought it should be. But then as I was talking, I looked at all of those bullet points, and I made sure that all of those questions were asked or all of those points were made. So I said, so I just reiterated all of the questions that I wanted. So if you're testifying, if you write down on a recipe card all the important facts that you want to get, I like to, and this is just me personally, I like to have the answer. So if I want to talk about, so I'll give an example. So let's pretend that I'm going to the committee and I'm talking to the Ways and Means Committee and Ms. Carlton. So I would say, good morning, Madam Chair, because she is the chairwoman. Madam Chair and committee members, my name is Marilyn Kirkpatrick, and I live at 4747 Showdown Drive, North Las Vegas, Nevada. And on my piece of paper, I would have these things. I'd like to tell you that there are, 900,000 4-H kids around the world, with 16% of them being right in North Las Vegas. So on my recipe card, I would write that down. How many kids around the world are in 4-H? And then in parentheses, I would put the answer, because sometimes you get very nervous and you forget what you were trying to say. So I always try to write it down myself, just so I can look at it. Did that make more sense?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? I was trying to see if you guys go. So what I'll do is I'll send something to Carrie. It's called iCivics, and it's actually a really good website that you guys can go on, and it kind of shows you through YouTube how you can testify, and it shows you things that you want to get across. So I'll do that tomorrow morning, and then you can look at it. And it's actually a really cool website that we use for students. And you could be a judge, you could be a lawmaker. And so it kind of tells you things that they look for. But in our state, we're pretty unique in our state. We like to talk about Nevada. We like to tell our story. And what I mean by that when I say tell our story, that means to tell people the great things that we have, because so many people don't know that. Would that be helpful? Is there any other information that I can give? I hope to go with you guys if we go to testify. I personally would like to take us to Carson City, but we always have the option to testify right here in Las Vegas. But I'd personally like to take us to Carson City because it's amazing. It's an amazing process to see.
And that would be great if you could send me that, Marilyn, and then any other information that you think would be helpful for these young people.
Yeah, and before, when we get closer, so I would ask though that you all sit down and write a letter tonight. A lot of folks, I think I'm on my 6th letter about the Logandale Fair, and it's, you guys want me to read it to you, tell you, and I think it's a good letter. Hold on and I'll get it to give you an example.
Okay. And I have some homework for you guys for just because, we can't have this without homework.
I know. So here's a letter that I got, and I get several. I get close to, so I don't know if you guys know, but I sponsor every single kid in the state at the Logandale Fair. I give them $25 of the extra money, and I've done that for years because I think it's important. But so here's a letter that I got, and this one I got today. It says, "This is my 4-H club story. My name is Eliza Childers. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm 10 years old, and I'll be turning 11 this month. This is my very first year in the Silver State Wranglers 4-H Club. I enjoy learning all about pigs, chickens, and archery. I've accomplished my first community project for my club, and I volunteered at Smith's Food Store for the Ronald McDonald House, collecting canned goods and money to help families in need. I've started to form great friendships within my club, which makes me very happy. My focus is on my market swine project. I also participate in chicken showmanship and archery. I would also like to help my community as much as possible. My goals are to successfully sell my market swine at the fair, to win a ribbon in chicken showmanship, and to go to the state for archery." And he sent me some pictures of him with his pig, for one, and 2, being at the archery, or it looks like it's at the Smith. And so for me, and then he put in, how much that he's trying to raise. So to me, pictures are always great to bring with you. That was pretty simple. It was a 1-minute elevator speech, but for me, it helped me kind of talk about what he can do, right, with 4-H. So those are things that I would recommend you sending to the legislature today. And so I send one a month, so that's only 2 before the potential hearing in late April. So we wouldn't have a hearing until April, but it'll at least allow you to, sometimes when you remind people of things that are going on, they start asking questions, which is very helpful for you. So if you send them a letter this week, and then you send them a letter, say, right before spring break in April. Your legislator will probably start asking, where are we on the budget and what are we doing about 4-H? So, and that's why we like it, because 4-H is great. So we want to keep it and we want to be able to expand it. Any other things?
They're all pretty quiet now.
I know. So Carrie, I'm wondering, I would love to have them to come down to the commission, maybe for a half a day, and we can kind of show them what they do and show them what we do, and they could watch maybe some testimony, people testifying in front of us on maybe a board meeting day, so they could kind of get the feel for it. And we could actually give them, I could actually give them an opportunity to come up and testify during public comment maybe on 4-H, because Clark County does fund a portion of 4-H. So I'm happy to make that kind of a fun field trip if you guys want to do something before or during spring break, for that matter.
That would be great. What I can do is I'll work with these guys and find out what works. I know we do have four of our members are from Elko too, and I might be able to work with the Elko commissioners and see if we can do the same thing up there. And then bring our Clark County kids to the Clark Commission.
Right, and you know, I'm happy. Dee Mardahl is probably a huge advocate for 4-H up at Elko, so I'm sure he would love to do that, and it's good practice for them, right?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Does that sound like something that's interesting to you guys, to everybody on here? If so, you can nod. They all have their mute on.
Oh, no. I get it. But I mean, it's an opportunity, you know, for them to kind of see different styles, because what I would tell you is no two people ever should testify the same way, because then you lose the personable component, but everybody has a different style. But I'm happy to bring you down, kind of, we could practice in my office and then go downstairs and practice, you know, in front of the podium with and without people. Happy to do that.
Fantastic. So I'll work with you. Do I work with, is it Gail?
Gina.
Oh, yes. Gina, thank you.
Yeah.
Lately.
Yeah, no. And I'll just tell Gina, let me tell her tomorrow, because I throw so much at her. Let me tell her tomorrow and then just give her a call tomorrow afternoon. But, you know, pick a couple dates, and honestly, and even if it's a Saturday, right? I have access to the building on the weekends, even if it's a Saturday, and I know the fair's coming, so people will be super busy. So I'm happy to do it whenever, but I think it would be really great for the kids to have the opportunity to practice.
Fantastic. So I will, I will start working on getting those dates set. So.
Okay, that works.
I love that idea.
Is there a month in particular that 4-H is kind of, is there a history month of 4-H, or is there like a big 4-H thing?
October is the month that we do National 4-H Week, and that's kind of, I mean, so that's a little ways away, but October is our big month, really, kind of kickoff month too.
So, I mean, one thing might be is to have the kids do a little bit of homework, is come before the county commission during public comment and ask us to declare October as 4-H month, and ask us to showcase some art. I mean, so that's another way to do it, is to come before us and kind of ask us to put something in place for you, so that during October we can make a big deal about 4-H. Yeah.
I think that would be great. Okay.
Endless possibilities. And honestly, kids, whatever, I mean, think outside the box, and anything that you want to do that you think helps tell our story about 4-H, write it down and have Carrie send it to me, And I am all about doing things different from everybody else because I like to make a splash, and I think we have a great story to tell. So we can really, you guys can really tell me how you think it would be great. Even creating a video that we can play to show 4-H, whatever you want to do.
Yep, and they're going to get one of their training sessions is going to be on how to do videos and photography, you know, how to take good photos and how to create videos. And one of their projects is going to be to create some videos for us. So.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, that's probably the most fun for you guys, but think outside the box. Think of something. Maybe we want to go, if we declare October as 4-H month, and you come, say maybe late March or 1st of April, we could maybe have you guys introduce the fair and give you a proclamation for the fair and give you an opportunity to tell us about 4-H as well. So we have a lot of things, a lot of opportunity.
Great.
All right. Well, I know it's, I'm not even sure what day of the week it is because I've been traveling. So I think it's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
I think it's about 7. So it's a school night. So I'm sure that
Yeah.
you guys have plenty to do. So
And
don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. And everybody needs to stay on for just a couple more minutes because I have a couple things for you. But thank you so much, Marilyn. I sure appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule because I know you've been super busy too.
Commissioner, can we ask a quick question before you run off? I'm so sorry. I know it's getting late. Is that okay?
Nope,
What does like a declaration do, like in a proclamation and stuff, like you talked about for our county fair? Like, what would that do? Like, does it preserve it? Does it give us more financial support? Like, what does it actually mean?
So, I mean, there's a couple options, right? So Clark County in particular, and I want to talk about Clark County. So Clark County sets aside 1 penny of the property tax to the cooperative extension. And so for Clark County, our mission includes 4-H. And what I'll tell you, 2 years ago, most of the people on my board had no idea that 4-H was anything, right? So I worked pretty hard to ensure that we funded 4-H through Clark County. And so if you declare October a month, then every year you're kind of reminding people of the importance of 4-H, and you're also thanking Clark County, for that matter, about thanking them for funding it, for keeping the funding going, right? So you guys get money from a couple different sides. So if you declare that as National 4-H within Nevada month, then you kind of stay on the radar for year after year, right? So you never have to remind people of what 4-H does. Now, if we give you a proclamation in April, and what we do is we say, hey, thank you for all your service to 4-H, and thank you for going out, and we tend to give everybody a copy of it. One, it lets you know that we appreciate what you do in 4-H, but it also lets the world know that we have a lot of great kids right here within our own community, and maybe you should go to the fair and support their efforts. And I'm sure Carrie can tell you that when I'm at Cooperative Extension for the advisory committee, last time I said, hey, if you guys want to do something, give $25 to a bunch of kids for 4-H because they work hard and it goes a long ways. And like 5 people asked me, how do I do it? So it kind of helps get the message out to other folks. So that's why you want 2 bites of the apple, and it's within 6 months of each other. So you're always at the forefront of the discussion, which ensures that, you know, the more people know about an organization, the more they want to participate, and it helps you guys be successful.
Thank you for that clarification. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Nope. All right, Carrie. Then I'm off, and just let me know what you want, and
Okay.
we will be here to support you however we can. All
Great.
right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So for all the rest of us, we do have a lot of new people on today, and what I'm going to do is we're not going to go through we're not going to go through like introductions tonight, but on Monday I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, and I actually just got an email confirming our speaker for Monday night. So Monday night, our speaker is actually going to talk about how, like, what you say. I know Marilyn did a great job tonight talking about the testifying and that kind of thing, and we have actually a lobbyist in the Nevada legislature that's going to come in on, he's going to talk to you guys on Monday night about testifying. Like, how do you prepare your speech? How do you do those types of things? So that's another really good reference that we have. But for the next kind of your homework, and I know I shouldn't call it homework per se, but what I would like you to work on is, one, go home and find out who your assembly person and your senators are. And I'll send this all out in an email too, just so you know. But, and then if you can, write a letter to them. What I would like you to do is if you can send a copy of it to me, just so I can, what I want to do is just make sure everything, like all the, if you want to talk, you know, that we have all the facts. The one thing my homework for you guys this week is I'm going to send you some of the statistics about 4-H, like, you know, how many members are there nationally, how many members are in Nevada, you know, some things that you could be utilizing within, you know, when you go to talk about 4-H. So maybe a couple days before I can get those to you, but I will work on those. That's, like I said, that's my homework. The other thing I'd like you to do, if you get a chance, I'd like you to talk to your extension person. So for Elena and Hannah, you would talk to Lacey and find out what, and then for KK and Felicity and Carly, you could talk to Karen, or you could talk to Louisa, or you could talk to Adriana, you could talk to Marguerite, or you could even talk to Eric Killian, who's the area director in the Clark County. He's the administrator in Clark County for Extension. Ask them, what are one or two things that make 4-H unique in your area? And I know when we, and the other Elena's joining us again, her internet's been going in and out. But for those that are in Elko and watching the video, you could call Liz or call Jill and talk to them and find out what are one or two things that are unique about 4-H in your community. And just kind of bring those ideas with you, because those would be things that you might want to utilize within the 5-minute elevator speech, or in, you know, when you're, you know, she was talking about doing some of those things in your testifying. And then also think about that story. You know, what is your story in 4-H? What, you know, I love when she shared about giving back to the community. They always like to hear those types of things. What do you do in 4-H to give back? And then the other thing is just to go through the Nevada Box files. In the email that I sent, I think it was last night or night before. I don't remember. It's been, I think it was night before when I sent the emails. There was a link to a Nevada Box. You don't have to have Nevada Box in order to get into those files, but it's got all of the handouts. But in there, there's a document that's called Enhancement Request, I think is the name of it. If you look, it's in the Session 1 folder. That is what we are requesting from the legislature. As Marilyn said, it's about $4.7 million, and about $2.5 million of that is going to support 4-H. Now, I will tell you, as you're sharing your 4-H stories, if you happen to be involved in the shooting sports project or any kind of natural resources project or any STEM or 4-H science activities or projects, those are what we're asking for is 3 state positions, 3 state level specialist positions. One is a volunteer specialist, so that person would work with all of our volunteers across the state, providing training, providing all kinds of updates for them. And also, my guess is working with our team leaders as well, just because that tends to fall into that area. And then the other one is a natural resources and shooting sports coordinator specialist. And so that would be one that would be important. And then we're also asking for a STEM specialist, so somebody that would create create some programs around STEM. So especially, like I said, those are 3 that we're asking for. And then the other part of the funding is to actually help support our county staff and to essentially try to get more 4-H participants. But through this request, what we have basically promised almost to the legislature is if we get this funding, we will then work to reach, sorry, I've had the hiccups now, reach 100,000 youth in Nevada in the next 5 years. We have about 67,000 right now in Nevada 4-H. And so that's a pretty significant jump. Oh. So we would, that would be, so those specialists would be the ones helping. So, so those are your homework. Okay. So the homework 1, find out who your assembly person and senator is, and then to write a letter to those individuals. I'd like to have that, if you could write that letter by next week. I know she said go home tonight and write it, but that's a little tough to do because I'm sure most of you still have homework to do yourselves. So I have a 14-year-old myself. I know he's at home doing homework right now. But if you could get that written, by even the beginning of next week, that would be great. And send me a copy of that. And then to get a hold of your extension professional. So wherever you live, for those of you in Northeast Clark and Logandale, you would talk to Lacey. For those of you in Vegas, you would talk to either Karen or Marguerite or Louisa or Adriana. And then for those of you in Elko, you would talk to Jill or Liz, or if you wanted to call another extension office, maybe if somebody wanted to take an opportunity to call Pahrump in Nye County, they do have an outstanding robotics program. And that might be a really interesting thing to find out about. And then to go through those Nevada box files. The other thing I know, I'd like to, one of these nights, practice those 5-minute elevator speeches. So I would like everybody to continue working on theirs. Monday night, feels like it was last week. Monday night, the session, and I sent out the link to the recordings. So those are all on a YouTube file. So if you can get access to those, that'd be great. If you need that again, let me know. I'll probably send out the link to this recording, and I'll include those other 2 as well, kind of like I did this last time. But watch that, because it goes through kind of how to prepare that 5-minute speech. And Marilyn said it exactly. You've got to practice and practice and practice. It's always good to practice. So if you can, continue working on those, and we will. I'm going to plan on maybe Monday night having at least 1 or 2 people give their elevator speech to practice, and then maybe each time we'll have a couple people give their speeches. Okay, any questions from you guys? The other thing I need is, if you have not sent me your shirt size, please send that to me. I'm going to order those shirts probably this weekend. And when Marilyn said how to dress for the legislature, everybody is going to get like a long sleeved button down nice shirt with, you know, University of Nevada Cooperative Extension and the 4-H Clover and everything. So with like khaki or black pants, I think that'll look really nice going into the legislature. So, or whenever you go out and promote, you know, if we do end up going, which you know, I'll send out an email about going into the Clark County Commission. You know, that'd be another opportunity. So, and then Elena, I'll talk to Liz up in Elko and see if we can work with the Elko County Commission to go in there as well. So, all right. Any questions from anybody? You guys are all quiet. I know I have a lot of these scheduled until 8 o'clock, but I'm really trying to get them finished, you know, in about 45 minutes to an hour. So, because I am trying to be respectful to school time, or, you know, to school nights. So, and next week,
No,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying thanks. This was really nice to get some really good notes. So
Yeah.
I think our girls are
Good. Good.
You'll look excited.
Next week we have Mike Brown is coming in to talk about the testifying. And then on Wednesday night we have Nora Luna from Clark County. She's going to talk about leadership etiquette, and it's like how to dress, how to present yourself, how to some social media, like how to present yourself on social media, some of those types of things. And then after that, we have somebody from UNR Cooperative Extension Communications is going to come in and talk about social media. Another person about media releases, because we may ask you to help us write some media releases that we could then submit that would share some of your stories. And then I have somebody coming in to talk about good photography and making videos, because one of the things I'd love to do is get some videos made, sharing your stories. And then the last one is how to write thank you notes. Because what I would love to see everybody do is, and I can send out her information, I would love to see you write, well, for each one of our guest speakers, I'd like to have some handwritten thank you notes sent to them. So I will, and I'll send their addresses to everybody. So that session isn't till the end, but it's okay. I think you guys could probably write them anyway. And I think Northeast Clark, I think Lacey's already done probably that presentation for you guys. So, any questions? I appreciate everybody joining tonight. I was getting a little worried that we would not have, you know, we have these guest speakers coming in and, you know, with 1 or 2 people on, I was getting a little nervous. So I appreciate you taking the time. And I understand, you know, things come up and we have conflicts. And so you can just let me know if you're not going to be on one of the sessions, just so I can, you know, I kind of have an idea of how many people are going to be on. So
Perfect. So much. So we will see you on Monday, the 11th, right?
yes.
Is that Monday or is that next day?
Nope, it's Monday. Next week, I think I have a session every night of something. Okay. I just told my family I'm going to be working every night in March. And they were like, okay. They're used to it. So thank you guys. And have have a great night.
You too. Take care.
Thanks.
Have
Thanks.
fun in Imagine Dragons for the
Thank
rest
you,
of us.
Carrie.
Us lowly people here.
Yeah, well, you know. I was telling them, or for everybody else, I'm at a conference this week, and it's a conference that's kind of a once in a lifetime, and Imagine Dragons is doing a concert for us at the conference. And so that's tomorrow night. And I actually have VIP floor tickets. We were one of the first 1,500 here, so we were able to get those. So I had to ask who Imagine Dragons was. Sorry, I'm not very hip right now. So, but it'll be good. And this morning we got to see Richard Branson and Ashton Kutcher and Barack Obama speak. And tomorrow is Oprah. So again, it's a once in a lifetime. I will never be able to afford to go to something like this ever again. And it was not Nevada grant or Nevada tax dollars that paid for it. So it was a grant I had. So, but I'm also learning a lot. I got a lot of ideas to bring back to Nevada 4-H.
Well, good luck and have fun. Make good choices.
Thanks, everybody, and I will see you on Monday night.
Yeah, thanks.